Welcome to the Balance Code Podcast, a place where you have permission to step outside the hamster wheel of day-to-day life and learn tools to create more balance. My name is Katie Ressler. I'm a licensed therapist and burnout and hidden grief specialist. I support ambitious, goal-driven people who are ready to get off the one-way train to burnout and start to enjoy life again to the fullest. Oh, and by the way, I'm a mom of 3, an expat living in Germany who is still learning the language, and an entrepreneur. Living my balance code is what keeps me able to work in incredible ways without burning out. So let's find your balance code. Have you ever noticed the more stressed out you are, the less creatively you think? Truly, when we are stressed out, our brain is in fight, flight, or freeze. It isn't thinking, oh, let me get really creative about ways that I can get out of this situation or shift how stressed I am. It is truly in survival mode. But being creative, being able to step outside of the stressed out mind is what actually helps us to get less stressed. So what do we do, Katie? How do we start to activate our creative mind in situations where we're stressed? Well, let me give you an example. When I'm teaching my daughters about boundaries, I have them practice what to do or say when somebody crosses their boundaries. So at the ages of my kids, 8, 6, and 2, a lot of it is putting out your hand and saying, stop. And then helping them to know who they need to talk to, who do they go to first in those situations. But I have them practice it because in the moment when they're stressed, when they're in fight or flight, it needs to be a habit, a habitual response to do that and to know exactly where to go. When we're stressed, we are not creatively thinking. I don't expect them in that moment to think, oh, I'm going to say something else to that person and then I'm going to go and do this. I want them to have the habitual response of informing the person it's not okay, creating a physical boundary by sticking out their hand, and then going immediately and talking to an adult. This is the same thing that we need to do. And I think this is the power of working with a coach or a therapist or a guide, is to talk through what are the things I'm going to do when I get stressed to this point? What are the things I'm going to do this week on this project that I know overwhelms me and I just freeze? Here are the things I'm going to do, and I'm going to just start practicing them on easy tasks. I'm going to make them my habit. I did an activity recently with a group of girls in my Brownie Girl Scout troop. And it was a sheet of paper that had 12 circles on it. And I said to them, I want you to look at each circle and imagine it's something else. And color that, design it within that circle. It can be outside of the circle too. But I want you to think creatively, what could the circle be? So, of course, we had soccer balls. We live in Germany. We had the sun. We had flowers. But some of them started thinking creatively like, here's a donut. If I create a smaller circle in the center, I've made a donut. Here is a plate of food. If I take a little section and make it look like it's been eaten out of, here's a cookie that has a bite out of it. They played with the shape of the circle. And I think as adults, we need this activity. We need to get used to seeing something as simple as a circle and being able to think creatively about what else it could be. I know this seems silly, but you're training your brain to think creatively. In typical situations, we see circles all the time. Now you will be looking at circles and go, what else could this be? Do the same thing with triangles and squares. Have fun. When we think outside of the box on a simple activity like this, it starts to allow our brain to think outside the box in other areas. But then when we're stressed, it teaches us already how to think outside of the box naturally. So activities that challenge you to think creatively on a daily basis are excellent at helping with this. But in specific, when you know there's a stressful situation coming up, or if in your day-to-day you have minor, smaller stressors that you can still think clear enough, you can start to challenge yourself to think creatively. And if it's with a partner, coworkers, friends, your children, you can involve them in the process too, so that you know you're not alone. So then when you are very stressed, you remember, I have people I can go to when I need help being more creative on how to get out of this stressed out situation. Here are some things I want you to recognize about when we're very stressed and we're in fight, flight, or freeze mode. We have tunnel vision. It is very hard for us to really see too much else of what's going on around us except for what is right in front of us. We have short-term memory issues. So sorry, if you're arguing with your spouse and you're like, no, 10 minutes ago you said this, you're probably wrong and so are they. Your body is not sending all the oxygen up to your brain. No, it is sending it to your heart and to your ligaments, ready to run, ready to go, ready to fight. Your breathing shortens, which adds to the stress response, but also helps with the, let's go. So you're not able to think clearly. This is why we want to start activating creative thinking on a regular basis as the norm, so that when you become stressed, you can think outside the box. Have you ever noticed those times where a friend shares with you a stress that they're having and how they acted, and you give them how you act, how you respond, and it's very different, maybe healthier, who knows, you decide on that. And you think it's so easy to just do that because it's your habit. But your friend hasn't made it a habit, so they have not learned that. But it seems so easy to you. That's what we're trying to create in helping you to respond to stress more creatively. I'm starting to feel my stress levels go up. What are the things I can do right now? Well, I'm at work. I'm just going to step outside for a moment. Let me get out of the building, feel a change of environment, a change of space. Or I'm at home and we're in the middle of our routine at the end of the day and I just can't get out freely. I'm going to put on some music and we're all just going to have a dance party for a second. And I'm just going to shake out this energy that I feel. Or I'm stuck in traffic and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So again, I'm going to put on music and I'm going to jam out and act like nobody's watching. The more that we think creatively in these stressed out situations, the more it becomes a no-brainer, an easy habit, an easy go-to thing to do. So take time today and reflect on what are some of the things you want to start shifting or new habits you want to have when you start to feel a little more stress. Not when you're your most stressed, because again, you're not going to think of that. Or you can write them on bright colored sticky notes or have it in a place where as soon as you start to feel that stress, you're going to look at it and do it. But I'm going to bet in those moments, you're probably not going to see those sticky notes. So I'm going to say, let's start using it on the smaller stressors and then take the steps towards making it a habit so that the bigger stressors, you already know what to do. When we learn how to balance our stress levels, it's a game changer. Because often the things that are making us stressed aren't as big as our minds think they are. So when you learn how to regulate your nervous system around stress and to know how to shift and think creatively in those moments, the more you feel like you have options and you no longer have that feeling of being trapped and stuck, which is often what creates even more of a feeling of fight or flight. So go take some time, think about what are the little steps you're going to be taking towards smaller stressors that are going to shift how you experience stress so you can think more creatively in the future. Here's to creating your balance code. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you have a moment, please leave a rating or a review so that others can find this podcast who are looking for support just like you. Let's connect on Instagram at katie.russler or at Balance Code Podcast, or check down in the show notes to find ways that we can work together and see other offerings that I have for you at this time. And as always, here's to finding our balance code.